Microphone check 1 2. What is this? It's B Michael here with Shifting Paradigms Business, and we're live here. That's right, at the KUAW radio station here, brought to you by the Black Family Technology Awareness Association. We got Baba G here on the soundboard, always keeping it up and holding it down. Yeah, we got a nice show for y'all here today. I got my man Seth Thurman in the check, so we definitely going to get it going. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're going to just let you all know what Shifting Paradigms is all about. We're all about stimulating critical thought in order to realistically redefine our narrative and positively reshape our reality through dialogue with Kuji Chagalia, that good self-determination. Today's show is called Praise Paradigmatics. Again, Seth Thurman, the man of God, is here with us live in the studio. Welcome, my brother.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me.
No question. No question.
To be here.
So let's let the listeners know who Seth Thurman is, and you know what you do, what you about, so on and so forth.
I am a poet, a published author, end times preacher, a skating professional, and that pretty much sums it up. I'm a father as well. And,
Okay. That's dope. That's dope. So you talk about. I want to just take on that. You said end times preacher.
Yes.
Okay. Like what has inspired that element of your walk, of your life to come about?
It's in a nutshell, God, but I can't say that we actually can determine those things. They kind of choose us. I look at my calling as a freak accident. I didn't choose it by any means, but it chose me.
Okay.
The desire to know the scriptures, to understand, what the heart of God was. It was a seed that was planted in me at a young age that was just kind of dormant for a long time, and then went off to college and made some foolish decisions, and then came to Jesus moment, and the seed began to germinate, and it began to take a life of its own.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the midst of that, God came into the picture and was like, here, boom, this is what you've been created to do. I've called you to get my people ready for the rapture. I want you to, let everyone know, hey, I'm coming like a pickup stop. When you get here, when I get there, it's either you are or you're not. Everyone has their wait time, and I'm going to crack the sky open. I'm going to get my people and go. And what else did he say? Everyone has their weight. When you get here, it's either you are or you're not. There'll be no time for bargaining, he said. And, he said he's going to crack the sky open. And ever since then, that's pretty much I've been all about the end times preaching aspect of it. But, yeah.
So relative to that, right, like looking at our just the geopolitical, social, economic landscape of the world today, Like, where do you see us in the prophetic landscape of time? Like, where are we in this? Like, what is the time and the season in which we stand, and what do you see to be the call and the mission for those who are called by the Most High right now? So where are we, and then
Kinda
what are
in
we
the
to
time
do?
limit. Well,
Yeah.
the word says no man knows the hour or the day.
Mm-hmm.
And what he told me is he's coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one day, and as we all know, what the scriptures say is one day in heaven is 1,000 years on earth. So when God says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. But, time is just a different variable in the heavenly dimension.
Yeah.
So part of the question was when, and then the other part was,
What are we to do?
what are we to do?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let me go back. Let's go back a little bit. Like looking at the signs that we're seeing. Like, right, where do you see us in terms of just like, so the soonness of it? Like, I'm not saying maybe tomorrow, but like with everything that is going on, wars, rumors of wars, intrigues, famines, diseases, earthquakes, everything that's going on, people against people, tribe against tribe, so to speak, all these different signs that the Messiah
signs.
said that would be before his second advent. Like, what do you see that as? Like, do you think that this is like like at the door, or do you think it's like we got a little
I believe
more time?
the proof of the end times being here and now is walking around talking and having full-blown conversations with people. I believe that God is like definitely visited earth in these times that we live in right now.
Yes.
And kind of like when Jesus was here and no one knew or realized he was like the whole Messiah. Like that was the precious gift of God to mankind.
Right.
It was walking around talking with people, and people didn't like perceive that at all or recognize what God, the move of God in the earth. And so, I'm just saying that God's movement in the earth has always been in a very in a way that is hard for people to peep unless you're paying really close attention. He says he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And he always used just random like, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's Ruth and here's Naomi and Ruth in this field talking about their husbands dying and oh, you know what I'm saying, what are we gonna do? And there's a separation, and God's in the midst of that, creating a whole storyline that'll be in the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's just an everyday situation.
Right.
So he's like, he's using these everyday people and everyday situations to inspire faith in anyone at any time. And so his whole MO is just kind of like, I'm where you're least expecting. And I exist in that butterfly place, like in that place that is scary for you to venture into. And Psalms 18, he says, he made darkness his covering, his canopy surrounding him, thick clouds dark with water. Out of the brightness before him, hailstones, coals of fire broke through his clouds. In the heavens, the Lord also thundered aloud, and the Most High uttered his voice in his expression. That sounds scary.
Yeah, it is.
Like, when we are approaching God, it's just a place that is like, it's fearful to approach, you know? And so all that to kind of say that that we're going to dig deep, you know what I'm saying, in our discovering who God is and God revealing himself, you know what I'm saying, come to earth again. Like, it's going to be a deep dig. Yeah. What do we do? You know? Yeah. It's almost as if it's already in us and it's already done. And so the act is already written. You know, it's hard to explain, but we're talking about a variable right here, God being an entity that is outside of space and time. So it's a dimension that the rules are different than the dimension that we're in right now. And so, like, what do we do in preparation for his coming? It's almost as if it's like you're gonna do something, but you're not gonna do anything. It's what you're gonna allow to happen and what you're gonna trust in the process, and everyone can go with that. You know what I'm saying? With that, from that perspective, you know what I'm saying? It's just, are you willing to take the ride?
That's real. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's huge, bro.
I don't know if that makes.
No, I get it, because it's the choice, That's why, you think of even what Joshua said, choose you this day who you shall serve, And people are serving things. They don't even know that they serving nowadays, you know what I mean? Like, it's so much Babylon, just confusion that's going on around us. So that's deep. That's very deep, man. And so just looking at that in light of your art, because you also say you're a poet, right? Like, would you say your spiritual consciousness, as you say, your Christ consciousness, did that like propel your art, or was your art already birthed prior to that?
Oh man, that's along with the prophetic word to get his people ready for the rapture. That was in 2013. I was doing a Bible rap at the Black History at Black History Month at Kansas City Community College.
Okay.
And I was rapping the Book of Revelations, and afterwards 3 women came and sat down with me, and they said, "Hey, we hear from God, so we're gonna give you what God's telling us to tell you." That rap you did just stirred the spirit of God up in us to give you this prophetic word. And so they told me, "You're a poet." It was like, "You're a poet. God wants you to start writing letters to your children and start writing letters to him every day in your own handwriting." He said, "You're a man like Moses." He said he said to get his people ready for the rapture, the thing I told you about the rapture. And he said a host of other things. But when he said that, and, it's interesting when God speaks to you, because my father was with me at the time, and he wasn't hearing what I was hearing, because whenever God speaks to you, it's almost as if the person that has seen from your first person point of view all your life is talking to you. You recognize the voice based on your experience. And if no one's experienced what you've experienced, then they won't relate to the voice you're hearing.
Right.
And so I heard God's voice. I heard him immediately. The stuff he said was like, boom, boom. I was like, okay, this is God.
Yeah.
But anyway, when he said I'm a poet, the next day I sat down and I wrote a poem. And it was called "Lord, You Keep Correcting." And I read it to a lady at the bus stop, and she was like, "Man, that's a universal poem. That pretty much can apply to anyone." And so God's been blessing me with poetry that is like a universal language.
Okay.
It's like the understanding that he's given me is it's like an irrefutable word. One of the things he told me, and this might come off as a shocker, but I'm just going to repeat what he said to me, and what was prophesied to me was that my word and his word are the same. And when I write poetry, it's like he takes over the pen. So the poems that he puts out, it's just like, I would like to say it's the missing link. A lot of information he's given me is connecting the end from the beginning from the end. It's like, it's almost as if the information that he's given me is for such a time as this.
Right.
You wouldn't put a gun into the hand of a 5-year-old, because that 5-year-old isn't mature enough mentally and emotionally to wield that weapon or to know what to do with it. It could be a danger to him and a danger to others.
Truly so.
And so the knowledge of God is so powerful that he withheld a lot of information about himself until the last moment, whenever it's just, all right, all the cards on the table.
Right.
Like we at the end times.
Right.
All the cards on the table. Here.
Yeah.
This is what I got. I hope y'all people who I am and understand the plan now.
Truly.
And the stuff he's been laying out to me, the downloads, it's connecting science with scripture. It's connecting, like it's bringing the whole thing full circle. He really is the Alpha and Omega. And
right.
And the creation complements his plan. And so that's the kind of poetry he gives. And when I write poetry, I just write in a way that will take people from one place in their question of who God is, and then bring revelation to them by the end of the poem.
Okay.
So that's the main way God voices poetry through me. So,
and art, the thing about poetry, even when you look in the scriptures, it's prophetic. Like all the prophets were actually poets. Yeah. That's what's so powerful, is that their words are artistically put together in their inspired form, And I find it interesting you say, the words you speak are also, like the words of the Most High. if not the same. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that you got to get out the way for that. You completely have to remove yourself from that,
bigger than me.
you know, and understand that you are just a vessel, you know, and I think that's huge. And when you get to art, because I consider myself a poetic purist. I look at poetry as a weapon, but also as a conduit of healing, right? And so when you really understand, for me, how poetry has been used historically, it's either to bring kingdoms down or to uplift the Most High's kingdom. You know what I'm saying? It's one or the other. That's what it is. And I definitely applaud you for that particular stance that you take with your art, because it's not a common stance, nor is it a popular stance that, you know, people would want to just voluntarily go into. So that's huge, and that's a mark of strength. I remember my first encounter with you in terms of you poetically. I was at the Corner Cafe, and you did this poem that you used a phrase, you repeated it several times. I forgot the name of the poem.
Hard work builds character.
That mug is cold. So I don't know if you got it on deck. Do you got it on deck?
Yeah.
Man, I heard that poem. I was sitting up there going crazy, bro. Like this, like, who is this cat first and foremost, right? And that piece to me, it just stuck. And for me, I mean, I was like, that's one of the coldest pieces I've heard in me, to be completely honest. So if you wouldn't mind,
yeah,
like, definitely bless the listeners with this
sure.
piece here, man. This piece is powerful.
First time I read the Bible, it was so confusing. I was sitting in the back of the church thinking it was amusing, yeah. There were people hooping, hollering, shooting, shouting, giving God the glory. And I was wondering in the back of my mind if this was for me, yeah, yeah. But it's so hard, it's so hard. It's so hard to make it down through there. It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh, it's so hard to make it down through there. Mama on crack, daddy gone, no looking back. Living in the projects, not content with where he's at. Now to live life without purpose. Nothing is scarier than to die beneath the surface, but hard work builds character. Crack rock in his socks, on the corner he stands, cold gun in his waist with a glorious plan. They say the good die young, I guess it wasn't his time, cause she was 7 months pregnant when he sold her a dime. He was only 17 when he made up his mind that he'd rather be a criminal, devoted to crime, than to live his life soulless, devoid of his shine. He figured, man, to live life without purpose? Nothing is scarier than to die beneath the surface, but this hard work builds character. Now that lifestyle was short-lived, but his guts would not give, so he kept grinding, kept hustling till the day came when it all did. He sold dope to an undercover to soon later discover his house got shot up, bullets went through his younger brother. Now he's staring up at the judge, eyes flooded with tears. No reason for what he's done, no purpose to who he is. Well, the judge stares back with a sense of hysteria and says, son, to live life without purpose, nothing is scarier than to die beneath the surface. But hard work builds character.
Yeah.
Now the judge put down the hammer and he was the nail. He was sentenced to 10 years when they threw him in jail. My, how time flies. There's no fire where wind dies. He spent a decade in a joint. Now it's a new world through new eyes. Now life's hard, but he's grateful. They live in large, but he's faithful. He knows now to survive that his heart can't become hateful. So he goes to the local church and he gives his life to the Lord. Gets involved with the work as a mentor for younger boys. Everyone have a seat, he says, as the kids enter the room. We've got material to cover. I know summer is coming soon. Now, just as soon as they all sat down, one hand went up. Excuse me, sir, but this class, it sucks. The teacher said, boy, be quiet, as he wrote with chalk. Learn some facts, and after class, we'll talk. Now, just as soon as the bell rang and all the kids got up, the teacher turned to the boy and said, talk to me, son, what's up? To see no one was looking, the boy looked back and said, when I was born, my mom did crack. And since my daddy's gone, I'm about to grab this pack. Now the teacher grabbed the boy's chair and pulled it closely. nearly breaking his barrier, looked him square in the eyes and said, "Son, to live life without purpose, nothing is scarier than to die beneath the surface. But hard work builds character."
Yeah. Yeah. Woo! Look. The first time I heard that piece, I was like, yo, and you just brought it full circle, man. And I was like, this cat right here, I seen him. And I thank you for that, man, because
sure.
that's the light. That's light. That's light. That's real light. You know, so with poetry, you know, you kind of spoke on it before, but I want to take it into that a little more. Like, how do you see people viewing you? Not that it matters. And then how do you want people to view you as a poet? You know what I'm saying? And I ask that just in terms of just understanding the role that you play with your art form as an end time preacher, you know what I'm saying? As a poet, but how do you want people to understand what you're doing with your art?
That's a really good question. And I appreciate you even asking that, you know, like what is it that like all of this is for?
Mm-hmm.
What I want people to get from my art is what God has passed down to me. It's just information. It's light energy.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to be filled with the light energy that God's putting in me as I pass it down to others.
Mm-hmm.
And this is revelation. You know, this is insight. This is understanding. This is oil. You know, we in our last days, and the virgins and the oils, like some of them had enough oil to you know, make it through the night to the wedding feast, and then some of them didn't. Well, that oil is the word of God.
Yes, sir.
And it's not just scripture memorization. It's actual faith. It's like actual like, it's so interesting what the word does and how the word is. It's because there's layers to the word, and people can read it and not understand it. People can hear it and see it and not perceive it, and not be changed at all or moved at all. But it's designed, the way God made it is so that he has to tell you.
Revelation.
You can read it all day long.
Revelation.
But Jesus, like, hey, Peter, James, and John talking to his disciples, like, who do men say I am? And they were like, some say you're Elijah, some say you're the prophet, some say you're John the Baptist risen from the dead. Peter's like, hey, you're the son of the living, you're the son of God. Like, you straight up. He's like, hold up. Man didn't tell you that, Peter.
Exactly. Yep.
The only one that told you that, it was my Father in heaven. And so the blindness that's on the world, it can only be lifted by God's voice. And God's word speaking through me, like, is a way for people to begin to see. You know what I'm saying?
True.
You know?
True.
And begin to perceive and begin to have revelation and begin to understand the heart of God towards them. It's relationship, but there's meat with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, relationships deep. You know what I'm saying? Relationships everything. But you know what I'm saying? If a person just tell you I love you, I love you, I love you, and they don't show you their actions behind that love, or you can't understand their love, you know what I'm saying? You don't understand why they treat you this way or that way, and they supposed to love you. If you don't have understanding behind the relationship, it'll fall through. And God wants us to have strong relationships in this time that we're in. And the stuff he's given me, the words he's given me, are the understanding for people to be able to really stand on solid ground in the midst of what we, you know what I'm saying, the times we're headed to. It's real meat for us to consume and have real oil and real solid understanding of what God's doing in these last days and concerning our eternal dwelling place, down to a science.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the next place I wanted to go with you. And we had this conversation just this past week about science and spirituality, and you even saying how you've been given an insight into how the Messiah scientifically can be shown to be the only way to salvation.
That's right.
So expound on that some for us, and just go back to like the beginning when you received this revelation of that, and then put it in a synopsis form, you know, just for time's sake. You know what I mean?
Okay. So I just focus on the revelation itself. So basically, in the beginning, one of the things that I like to debunk is this myth that science and God don't coexist.
Exactly.
And so once we just debunk that, we can see that evolution is God. You know what I'm saying? Evolution is God. And on a spiritual, down to the molecular level, evolution is happening. On a vibrational level, on an energy level, evolution is happening according to what is going to allow us to continue on in life. Evolution is happening.
More adaptation, change, and bringing things to a place where they can actually
continue in life
and reach a point of perfection.
Eternal life. Just like a bird, you know what I'm saying, in Antarctica, you know what I'm saying, if there's an ice age, then many birds will die. There will be casualties.
No doubt.
Okay,
right.
But God, evolution, he will provide a sharper beak for that bird to poke holes into the ice and begin to fish for himself and survive in that cold climate.
Right.
Many of the bird species may die off, but for the life preservation of, you know what I'm saying, that seed, it will continue to live because of God's providence.
Yeah. Right.
And so what I'm saying here is that what God has made us as, he has providence for us as in our most, is down to our finest level, what we are, for us to continue on in life. And it is a process of evolution that the earth and the world is going through, down to a energy level or a spiritual level. It's literally evolution. The wars, kingdom rising against kingdom, all of this stuff, this controversy, this conflict that's happening on the earth, that is actually, Jesus foretold all these things. He said, such things must need be, but the end shall not yet be.
Right.
You know, so these things had to happen.
Undeniably. Birth pains.
And it's a process of evolution that is going to bring us into our state of perfection. Now, getting to the science of why Jesus is the way. Okay, just kind of laid that foundation for understanding what I'm going to talk about here. But
now, how long ago did you receive this revelation?
Oh, my goodness. The one about Jesus, man, I think it hit me back in 2019, man.
Okay.
A lot of stuff that, like,
yeah,
I feed myself off of my old mind, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I think about stuff that God didn't reveal a long time ago, but that's not.
It just comes together.
Yeah, so much information.
Yeah.
But so in the beginning, right, everybody knows about the Big Bang, okay? You know, religion refutes it and says, oh, this is what the Genesis says, and that's fine too.
Right.
I say they go hand in hand.
They got to, right.
The formation, all of that stuff, it complements itself. It complements the Creator, and you can see it in creation. It's all the same. We're just discovering what he did. And so in the beginning, you have an explosion that occurs. And the explosion is a conflict between negative and positive energy. The same way that a tornado is formed because of a warm front and a cold front, the warm front coming underneath the cold front, and then the warm front rising, and the actual twister that forms because of that
funnel cloud,
because of that conflict of energy.
My mind. Right.
It forms a spiral creation, you know. And if you look at all of creation, there are no perfect squares, no perfect triangles. Everything's a spiral formation, down to the galaxies, down to the solar system, down to the world, down to the planets, and everything's a spiral. It's in a circular form.
That's sacred geometry.
That's sacred geometry, right?
Yeah.
It's a cycle. God dropped this in my heart earlier today. He said, he was like, the only thing that can defeat the cycle of death is the circle of life. And so that was just something he dropped into my heart earlier today. He was talking about Jesus being the curse breaker, and that the world is in a perpetual state of curses. And the only thing that can break that paradigm is the circle of life, which is Jesus. Like, he's inviting us into this this holy union with God. I'm getting off subject. I'm not trying to get off subject. But okay. So this tornado, right? And this conflict of energy creates an explosion, and the explosion begins to form galaxies and solar systems and a planet called Earth and this speck of dust floating around a blazing ball of fire. And here we are, humans, okay? And we have a life force of our own. We've been created with our own with an essence inside of us, energy, an eternal energy inside of us. There's still a huge cosmic battle between negative and positive energy still going on to this day, from the moment we were brought into this universe. And I remember one day I was so sad, I was depressed, I was going through it, man. I was just going through it, bro. I was crisscross applesauce on the side of a gas station or some apartment complex and just started crying because I was going through so much. And I'm just like, God, why me? Why is this happening? Why is all this stuff happening to me? What is the point of all this? And King Solomon said, he that increaseth in wisdom increaseth in sorrow. And it was in that moment that I realized why God had allowed me to feel so much sadness, so much grief. It was basically on an energy level, on a scientific level, it's basically that we don't feel this cosmic war happening unless we are incredibly sensitive to energy. We don't feel this cosmic war happening unless we're not even aware of it happening, unless we are humbled and at a point of, I don't know how to explain it, but basically, whenever we're up in spirit, we are not as aware of this cosmic battle between negative and positive energy. But in that moment, you have to go dive so deep within yourself that you begin to feel these energies pulling on you in the universe.
Been there. I know exactly 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel me? So now, where do I go from here? Now, basically, we are energy. Everything is a product of energy. This conflict of energy, this explosion, it was all a creation of energy. We are energy, and the law of thermodynamics applies to us. Energy meaning spirit, okay? And one thing about the English language is there are so many different words for one word that in order for you to actually understand any subject fully, you have to have this vast vocabulary, which is just kind of a sign of how deceitful, you know what I'm saying, our language.
Some spells.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, but
English spells.
It's just crazy how many words mean the same thing. And so energy, spirit, energy is feeling, character, emotion, vibration, pattern. All these are the same, actually. And so we are all energy on our finest level. And as energy, the law of thermodynamics applies to us, which says that energy can either be created or destroyed, but can only be converted from one form to another. And so with that being in mind, that means that we never die. Okay. Now, when you really put that in perspective, that we never die as energy, then that means this life is just a dream. It's just like we're here in a minute and then we're gone the next. It isn't long at all, considering the lifespan that we really have. And this also puts a lot of other things in perspective. Then you have to redefine what death is. Jesus is like, hey, you won't really taste of death. Some of you standing here won't taste of death until you see the Son of Man coming with all power, descending with all power. So death is actually a form of jealousy. Hell, God told me the foundation of hell is jealousy. The foundation of heaven is sharing.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
You feel me?
That's powerful.
And so the level of I lose my train of thought sometimes, but yeah.
You're talking about the level of hell and then a level of heaven.
Well, basically that we are negative and positive energy and we don't die. Because of that, we'll outlive the planet. And also, guess what? Because if that's all factual, right? Then the only things that we can actually do that can actually be done are the things we do for one another, because we are eternal dwelling beings. That means that, if I build a house, you know what I'm saying, the sun, the rain will bring that to the ground in a matter of time. But what I do for Michael is forever. Okay? Now, the ideas of heaven and hell, they come into viewpoint whenever you consider the fact that the significance of what we do increases with time. The magnitude and significance of what we do increases with time. we understand more the implications of what we did as a kid now as adults, 32, 33 years old.
Right.
So imagine being a billion years old. And even now at 32, 33 years old, 33, 32, whenever we do something that is in alignment with what billion-year-old version of us would like, our spirit gets happy.
Yeah. You feel it.
You feel it.
You
You
feel
like,
it.
whoa.
Yeah.
I feel like I could do this forever.
Yeah.
That's because billion-year-old version of you is on the inside of you
yeah.
in a dimension that is outside of space and time, and it's like, yes,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the one. That right there,
Right.
that's going to change the game. And anytime you do something that's good for another person,
Right.
it's in agreement with that.
True.
But there are some things that hurt you on a deep level, too, that your soul is like, oh, no.
Right.
We going to hate that.
Rejected.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to like that later on down the
Right.
road.
Right.
So this is all energy.
That's powerful.
Okay. Now, because we never die, because the magnitude of what we do increases with time and significance with time. Now, here comes Jesus. Nobody lived a perfect life. Everybody's gonna look back at their life once the world's gone. Once we'll outlive the universe.
Yeah.
Energy can't be created or destroyed. We're going to outlive everything in creation. That's why we're not supposed to bow down to any of it, because we literally are bigger than it.
Right. Sovereign. We got that sovereign dominion over it.
We're made in his image.
Right.
Whenever all this stuff is gone, it's just going to be us in the world that we create. That's going to be our reality. And so whenever you talk about entering into God's rest, you're talking about just having truth of what's real.
Yeah.
Imagine being an astronaut and you floating out in outer space and you just keep spinning. There's no gravity. At that point, you just want a solid foundation.
Right.
That's the afterlife. And that's entering into God's rest.
Okay.
It's just having the knowledge of what's real.
Okay.
And that is established on this side of life in our physical form. That's why we go through so much injustice, so we can understand what is justice. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like, this is a grand scheme of God. Like, the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of men.
Feel you.
You know? And so, like, Jesus comes into play. I can't forget Jesus. Jesus comes into play in that he lives, dies, and stands for the knowledge of forgiveness. And with the knowledge of forgiveness, a person is able to believe that they can change who they are because they have internalized that belief by believing that someone else can change who they are. All the way to the death of them, they internalize that. In the deepest parts of their psyche, they internalize that. So that whenever they are no longer flesh, they are still free from their past life because they have that ability to change who they are. And so as energy, like what Christ did was he bought stock in Apple before it became Apple.
Okay.
Okay, you feel me? Like he really got the most precious commodity and substance in the history of all creation for eternity. He got that before anyone saw the value.
Truly.
And it's going to skyrocket in value. It's going to go up exponentially for eternity.
Wow. Yeah.
Like that's going to be the only thing worth money. That's why Paul was like, you can go and be burned at the stake as a martyr. You can go and speak with a silver tongue.
But if you don't have love, right?
But he said, you can give all you have away to the poor.
Yep.
He said, but if you don't have love, then you are bankrupt.
Yep.
And the reason why he used bankrupt is because love is the currency of heaven. It's actual money. Having the knowledge of forgiveness in a spiritual form and as an energy is like having Jay-Z money. You can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
You can go wherever you want to go. You can be whoever you want to be. But the knowledge of forgiveness right now, if you hit my car, we outside, hey, I need that insurance.
Right.
It's devalued and depreciated at this point in time, but it's going to go up like crazy.
Right.
As soon as we come out of these physical shells. We
societal conventions too.
Yeah.
And that's all consciousness. You're talking about, it's just the awareness of these realities and these principles. And then you said something so deep, and I just think what Messiah said, in terms of connecting to the eternal reality. He's like, before Abraham was, I am. And that's just being aware of that eternal connection that we have, you know. And that's something even like one of my favorite verses is in Ecclesiastes 3. I want to say it's verse 11. He says the Most High has made it beautiful in His time. Even the ages, even eternity is put in our hearts, but no one knows the work that the Most High has done from the beginning to the end.
There are feelings. There are levels of happiness. Like whenever you talk about a feeling, a vibration, a character, an emotion, a spirit, these are like colors. There are colors we haven't even seen.
Yeah.
There are feelings we haven't even felt because we haven't. Just like when you're a kid and you're a baby and you try to explain, well, this is why Mom's sad. She's going through grief right now, son. Son's like 5. Son's like, what is grief?
Right.
What is grief?
Right.
Son's like, is Mommy having a bad day?
Right.
No, son, she's going through grief. He ain't got old enough to understand that level of emotion.
Right.
And so when he says that eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, nor no one's even
into the
come
hearts
into
of
that.
man.
It hasn't entered into the heart yet.
Yeah.
There are levels of joy that we won't experience.
Pleasure,
until,
all that.
like, you know what I'm saying, until a billion years.
Right.
Then we can even comprehend it. Then we have the volume and the grid for comprehending it.
Wow. Right. The right perceptions.
Yeah.
That's deep, man. That's deep.
It's like, yeah.
Do you have a poem that addresses any of this type of consciousness that you're talking about now? Or is there anything on your heart poetically that you know you would want to share along these lines?
I'm thinking of one right now, and it's called "There's Always Space for More Ideas." I've been thinking about this one lately.
Okay.
But it goes like, hop in a spaceship with me. God knows the journey we chart. Conversation with me. 2 astronauts in the dark. Now, before we go on this journey, let's make one thing clear. There's always space for more ideas. We search the galaxy, but astronomy and the telescopes don't know that as far as the eye can see is as deep as the heart can go. In a galaxy, a man peers from a globe. In a solar system, a man looks for his soul. Just a speck of dust floating around just a speck of dust hanging off of one of the limbs of an 8-legged spider. Floating around, just a speck of dust floating around a blazing ball of fire, hanging off one of the limbs of an 8-legged spider. It turns out the planet is a planned trap, and the love of this world will hold your mind back. You got to see the bigger picture, stand in awe and fear, because there's always space. You got to see the bigger picture, stand in awe and fear. Yes, as you gaze at the night sky, please notice this here. There's always space for more ideas. I butchered that, but you get the picture.
I mean, you know what I did this past week, but I feel you, bro. Like, that's love, though. That's love, because that's the mind. The mind is infinite. You know, we have infinite capacity, only using 5-6%, if that, of brain capacity, man.
And you know what? The consciousness is raising. There's been a paradigm shift.
Oh yeah.
People are getting downloads more than ever, and you know, people who weren't even all deeply spiritual like that are even coming into higher insights.
Awakening up.
The consciousness is just raising, and so when he says you'll be changed in the twinkling of an eye, he's literally talking about the perception.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that's everything.
Perception about to change, and you can't hide from the truth.
Right.
Man.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Earth's vibration is increasing. Like, there's something called the Schumann resonance. Have you heard of the Schumann resonance? Look up the Schumann resonance, and this is like the heartbeat of the earth. It's accelerating, and so the vibration of earth is heightening, and so anything that is not going to match that vibrational level, it's not going to make that transition when that shift comes. You know what I'm saying? And this is what the Most High is doing.
Wow.
So this pulsation is getting faster, and it's based on the thermosphere. So there's electrical impulses that's taking place, you know, and as that electrical impulse increases, the Schumann resonance increases, and so the earth is actually accelerating.
Feeling something, right?
Right. And it's an acceleration in consciousness, because the earth is a living organism.
Right.
Right. And it's connected to the kingdom of the Most High, because this is where the kingdom on earth is going to manifest. It has to be as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. And so we're seeing this connection. This is why so much death is taking place, because things that you talk about, evolution, the things that are not adapting to the changes that are naturally occurring, they're not going to make the transition.
Yeah.
It's impossible. That's science. You talk about science, and this is what's so important to understand the complementarity of science and spirituality. And that's crucial, man. And I'm just humbled that you're definitely bringing this to the forefront. So I think this is going to be a very interesting question for you.
Yeah.
You say you're a father, right? And as a father, you know the role you have in the life of your child. How has your spiritual insight impacted your role as a father, and also giving you the understanding of your relationship as a son to your Heavenly Father?
So how's being a father impacted my relationship with God, and
vice versa?
And my relationship with God impacted my relationship with my son?
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely like, it's a purpose, you know, it's a connection to purpose. And anytime that I am spending time with my son, anytime that we're, you know, just bonding, I feel like just as much fulfillment and connection to purpose as I do when I'm doing the will and the work of God. And so God's been showing me that, like, the two are one and the same, you know. For a long time I struggled. I really did struggle with the idea of family and ministry.
Wow.
You know, I thought I saw them separate. My upbringing and my foundation in God, it was strong enough to sustain me today. It was the rigid structure that you need in order for you to learn the do's and don'ts, the rights and wrongs, the rules. You know what I'm saying? But in regards to relationship, it crippled me. It really was very religious, but it wasn't very relational. And it crippled me in a lot of ways. As I'm an adult, you know what I'm saying? I have to really, guys like going in and operating on me and saying like, hey, this is incorrect theology, sir. We're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of this. The grace, you know what I'm saying, factor. Understanding that God is like my father. Like he loves it when I eat a bowl of cereal. You know what I'm saying? Like he loves to see me just be me. Like there's nothing I can do to change his mind about the way he feels about me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not that I'll never be good enough. It's that everything that I do, you know what I'm saying, is to bring glory to him. You know what I'm saying? So he loves me because he's just always proud of me. And that understanding, that knowledge, and that just forming that healthy relationship with God, while at the same time trying not to pass down the toxicity of my understanding of what a father, you know what I'm saying, is to my son.
Right.
You know, because as black men, and my dad was a great father, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, praise.
But his father passed when he was in middle school, I think. He didn't even get, like, he wasn't, you know what I'm saying, wasn't too old.
Right.
The level of trauma, the level of trauma we face as black men.
Yeah.
And there's a whole stuff, a whole lot behind that too. We just go deep down the rabbit hole. But the point is that fatherhood is something that's like,
It's
among
vital.
black men,
Right.
it's like, it's hard to cultivate that connection to our head. It's a real struggle. We're so far in a deficit when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it takes so much out of a man to come back to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To re-establish those connections between God, between him and his son.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to reform the relationship. You know what I'm saying? We've been so detached from our head for so long.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely been a struggle, bro.
Yeah.
When you say that, when you ask that question, it's been a struggle.
Learning.
And I've been learning. I had trial and error, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really, I just like the grace of God.
Yeah.
Like, God, just help me.
Yeah.
Where I'm weak, you're strong. And he makes me weak. Makes me weak when it comes to my son. And just the situations that me just not doing right in my own life have placed him. You know what I'm saying? And so all of that stuff in regards to raising him and being a father.
Right.
You know, me and his mom didn't stay together. So it's just like, I can't do anything but be raw with y'all. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
I get it, brother. Trust me.
It was traumatic, bro. It was just the whole thing was traumatic.
I get it.
But one thing that God hasn't let up on is that out of the overflow of his love for me, I love on my son.
Beautiful.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm coming into understanding of the principal thing. My relationship with God is principle.
Yeah.
Like that's the highest thing. It's not about getting people ready for the rapture. It's not about anything more than it's about me knowing how he feels about me and him knowing like the relationship. And so through that relationship with my son, the most principal thing is cultivated with pertaining to God and ministry.
Powerful. And I asked that in light of this passage from Malachi, right? 4 verse 6. It says, he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with utter destructions, right? So it's about that relationship. That's all you talk about.
Top tier.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's something that in our community we definitely need to work on, the role of fatherhood. And as a poet, as an artist, as a man, as a melanated man, as a preacher for the end times, like all this stuff does center itself in the life that you're living with your family. Like that's where the rubber hits the road. Because if you're not taking care of that, it's like nothing else matters. But I want to ask for you to leave us with a piece. What do you see as poetically something that would just cover that you have written, everything that we've kind of like just touched on? Like what piece would you want to leave our listeners with?
Man, let me see.
But again, this is Praise Paradigmatics. We're here with Seth, man of God, Irvin, and just been sharing his life as a end-time preacher, as a poet. We didn't even talk about your skating, because I be seeing you doing. I would be throwing up if by the way you be spinning. I would be so done. I would be like, "Ugh, I can't take that, bro." But that's powerful. That's a powerful thing you do as well.
Hey, thank you, brother.
No doubt.
Thank you, man. I'm gonna try to find something new, some new stuff for you guys.
Okay. And we'll wrap up after that.
I got 2 books that are out right now.
There you go. Get it.
Coming to the Cross, and then there's At the Cross.
Okay.
And then the 2 that are coming out, one of which I'm going to read a poem from this book that's coming out. It's Heaven or Hell, You Be the Judge.
Okay.
And Love Trials.
Okay.
And so I'm going to read you one from Heaven or Hell, You Be the Judge.
Let's go.
Let's see here. Okay. Let's do this one. God, all the glory belongs to you. God, all of the glory, it belongs to you. You shall get the glory out of what we go through. You shall get the glory no matter what we say or do. God, all of the glory, it belongs to you. Yes, even your story is all for God's glory, so you might as well praise him even in the midst of the storming. Proclaim it here and now, his beauty and awesome power, the grandeur of his goodness even unto the final hour, because it's all for his glory. Even if we should die, we only came into this world for his name to be lifted high. God, all of the glory, it belongs to you. You get all the glory, that's who the glory goes to. Yes, let us marvel in our reflection that God is purely perfection. Let us compliment our Creator to whom all the glory is destined. Nothing has come to pass. No, there is nothing left up to question, because when all is said and done, his glory be our profession. Go ahead, speak as if it were already here, the completion of all creation, the fullness of every life, the sheer joy of our destination. There isn't a real worry in the world. The dead are raised, the sick are healed. The work is already done, the debt is paid, the hungry filled. Every tear is wiped away. Embrace the presence of your maker, for he has made no mistake, but he is the greatest creator. Go ahead and praise him, lift his name high to the sky. It's only fitting, only right for his glory to be on high. I don't care what it is you're dealing with, no matter what you're up against, even your story is true. It's all for God's glory. God, all of the glory, it belongs to you.
All praises. Thank you for that, my brother. Wow. How can people reach out to get with you, my brother, if they want to get you on a set, you know what I'm saying, feature you, get your book? How can they get in contact with Seth Irvin?
You can find me on Facebook, Seth Trusting God Irving on Facebook. Instagram is Seth.Irving.
Okay.
I have my book on Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. And if you just search Seth Irving Coming to the Cross or At the Cross, Seth Irving Cross, you'll find me. You'll find my book pop up. What else is there? Yeah, Facebook. Oh, Facebook, TikTok as well. I'm on TikTok. And
be doing them lives. I'll be seeing.
I'll be doing some lives on TikTok, do some Facebook lives. I got a lot of preaching on my Facebook page.
Okay.
So there's a lot of videos, a lot of content, a lot of videos that you guys might, enjoy.
No doubt.
I love to tell you guys more about just everything. I just love to download into you guys what's been downloading to me. So please reach out. My number. If you want to call me or text me, or you have any questions, my number is 913-293-1145, and I'm open to just receiving anything you guys have, feedback of any kind, and also here for just the sharpening of iron. So God bless you guys.
Man, appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for being on the show today. It's Seth Irving. This is Praise Paradigmatics. I'm B. Michael. We got Smart Money coming up. And tune in a couple of weeks. We're going to have my brothers LaRon Green and Gerald J. Mays back on the set. And we're going to keep it moving. But this is B. Michael here with Shifting Paradigm signing off. Peace and power. Shalom, shalom.